The Toronto Raptors have reloaded and, in my opinion, can be one of the sneakiest teams in the NBA this year when it comes to the NBA playoffs and potentially making a surprise run. Now, we've seen the Raptors do this before. However, that is a bit different because they had a top 3 player in the league that year in Kawhi Leonard. They do, however, this year have guys like Pascal SIAKAM, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes, Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, and OG Anunoby, as well as countless other wings. They have the deepest wing rotation in basketball, and I think you can say that really very, very confidently. They also got guys down low like Precious Achiuwa, who I think is about to take a huge step. Christian Koloko, who they got out of Arizona, very exciting young rookie. So we're going to be talking about all that and more in today's video. So before we get started, make sure to the like button and the subscribe button, as it really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to leave me a comment down below and stick around for the full video because that'll really help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Now let's go ahead and start talking about their new way of basketball. As much length as possible, the GM has acquired so much wing talent, and I'm not even going to try to say his name this time because y'all, there's just 700 comments on every Raptors video about how to pronounce this dude's name, so we're just going to skip over today. But looking at all these wings, first of all, Precious Achiuwa, who is more of a big but can also play on the wing. He has some guard skills. Pascal SIAKAM, one of the more underrated players in the league, came back after his injury last year and was just phenomenal. Just kept getting better throughout the season. OG Anunoby has progressed every single year ever since he came into the league as a young rookie. He keeps getting better and better. There were other guys there as well. They've also got 5 other dudes. Otto Porter Jr. coming over from the Golden State Warriors, coming off a championship, and then Thad Young coming over from the San Antonio Spurs last year at the deadline. He was a nice addition. They got 3 young guys as well, and Justin Champagnie, Delano Banton, and Christian Koloko. So they run really, really deep. A couple guys I didn't mention, Chris Boucher in the last one. They got a lot of guys. Now, potential weakness. This has been up for debate for a little while now. And debate me down in the comments below because I want to know. Do y'all think Fred VanVleet is a weakness? Now I know pound for pound he's one of the best defenders in the NBA. And he averaged 20 points per game, 4.5 boards, and 6.7 assists a night. However, he can be seen as a bit unreliable defensively, and he's not the most efficient scorer in the world. 40% from the field, 38% from 3, 1.7 steals. Now remember, I said pound for pound, one of the best defenders in the NBA, but you can't help when you're 6'0" trying to guard a 6'8" cat. It's just not gonna work. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get shot over. So yeah, y'all let me know down in the comments below. Do y'all think he's a bit of a liability defensively, or do you think Nick Nurse can do enough to cover him up on the defensive side of the ball? A breakout year is coming for the man Trent Jr. ever since he came over from the Portland Trail Blazers. He has been an absolute steal. 18.3 points per game, 2.7 rebounds, and 2 assists a night. The man has been on a mission so far during his career in Toronto. Just keep getting better every year. Put up, I believe, a career high 44 points as a Raptor. Shooting at 42% from the field, 38% from 3, which is not much better than VanVleet, honestly. 1.7 steals as well, so kind of identical seasons out of the backcourt last year. However, I do expect Trent to continue to take another step forward. And speaking of the trade, let's go ahead and look back at it. Now, I did just go watch some film. I looked at some of the comments. Masai Ujiri. I think I pronounced it right this time. Y'all let me know down in the comments below. But Trent Jr. for Norman Powell in a straight-up swap. Masai Ujiri absolutely robbed the Portland Trail Blazers here because Norman Powell is not even on the team anymore. Trent Jr., as long as the Raptors keep re-signing him, is going to be a solid contributor to this squad for 10 years probably. He's still very young. It's not like his play style relies on high-flying athleticism above the rim dunks. So it's not crazy to see him still in a Raptors uniform in 10 years putting up good numbers. Now the dynamic duo that we do have to talk about, Fred VanVleet and Pascal SIAKAM, the face of Canadian basketball right now. At least I'd say. If there's somebody that I'm forgetting, maybe the Maple Mamba, Andrew Wiggins, coming off that championship appearance. But right now, for professional basketball teams in Canada, you got Fred VanVleet and Pascal SIAKAM. Those are the two dudes. And Pascal, I think, is being criminally underrated right now. His numbers are a bit down last year because of the injury, and then coming back, he didn't have the greatest return. He wasn't the sharpest off the start because, hey, he's coming back from an injury that he was out for a long time, straight into NBA basketball. But once he got going, his numbers just kept going up. And then VanVleet, another 20-point performer with 7 assists per game. I think these two guys are going to be huge for the Raptors this year, especially if they want to make a surprise playoff run. Now, the continued progression of OG Anunoby is also important. 17.1 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, and 2.6 assists per night last year for the 6'7 swingman. I believe he's about 6'7. Out of Indiana. Yeah, I'm pretty sure out of Indiana, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 44% from the field, 36% from three, 1.5 steals a night last year. And I think, this is another guy. I mean, they relied on their starting five a lot last year. This is another guy that's going to have to be huge for them if they want to make another surprise run in the NBA playoffs. He was on the squad when they went to the championship a few years ago. The lineups this year, in my opinion, this is what it's probably going to be looking like, kind of running it back from last year. Again, not a true center in that starting five, but Pascal, he can play down low. Scotty Barnes, really good rebounder for his size, 7.5 a game. And then OG can also rebound a little bit. Fred VanVleet and Trent Jr. are a little undersized, but once you start staggering the minutes, once you bring in the bench guys, you can definitely make up for that because you have all the height and athleticism and length in the world that you could possibly want. Nick Nurse has unlimited assets to play around with. I think this is going to be a very, very good team. The NBA is very competitive this year. Probably the most competitive it's been in years. So we'll see what these guys are able to do. But I think they are going to make some noise coming out of that Eastern Conference. Let's take a look at the bench here. It's a solid rotation all the way through. Backup point guard could be an issue. We'll see if they go with Malachi Flynn. Or, do they go with Delano Banton, who played a lot of point guard in the Summer League? Do they just let Scotty Barnes play like the entire game and let him run the backup point guard as well as the starting power forward? A lot of uncertainties at the backup point guard spot, but there's probably an answer on the roster. And then you've got all the wings. Otto Porter Jr., championship DNA coming off the bench. Thad Young, he's a good vet. He's been there. He's done that. Chris Boucher just re-inked to a new deal. He's actually like 30. Kind of surprising how old he is. Just bounced around the G League a little bit. And then Precious Achiuwa, another guy that I think is going to have a big year that people are really, really underrating. Some others here, quick note, somebody that I did not throw in the video, but there was a comment left on the last video. Gabe Brown, a guy to keep in mind here off the bench, 6'8 swingman from Michigan State. Delano Banton, like we talked about. Justin Champagnie, 2 wings off the bench that are both very long. Provide that length and the athleticism. And then Christian Koloko, the rookie, that'll probably start out in the G League and then make his way up to the active roster and start making a contribution halfway through the year. That's kind of the guys that the Raptors have this year. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. So if you did enjoy at any point, make sure to like button and the subscribe button down below, as it'll really help us out in the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, with that being said, thanks so much for watching today's video.